It was actually Triad's very first live experience, and it was out in Napa, California, at the beautiful, as you reminded me, Andrew, Rancho Caymasin. And at that time, I believe we maybe had just over 10 members, 10, 11, 12. We were right in that range, just getting off the ground. And our mutual friend Bobby had introduced us to you all, and you were checking us out for the first time. But that is a memory I will never forget, because that was like at the very pivotal foundational moment, as Triad was just coming together. So what was your take, being the stranger just showing up? I'd love to hear your side of that story.
My first memory really getting there was, I was like, I can't believe these people are bringing us to Napa, even though we haven't promised that we'll work with them. We haven't done anything. And that spoke a lot about the type of culture you guys were trying to build from the get-go, that you would just welcome in a stranger and treat them like family. And the second I walked up to that fire pit and walked up and got in a pool with the people around there and drank a little wine, which helps break down some social barriers, of course. You could just sense that feeling that, hey, you're welcome here. We don't know you yet. We don't know who you are, but we're going to bring you in. We're going to treat you like family. We're going to show you how we want to treat you from the word go. We're not waiting until you've signed on the dotted line. We're going to be really honest with how we want to treat you, and setting that up from the very first conversation I ever had on the phone to just being like, I was blown away when you guys said, hey, let's go out to Napa Valley and hang out. Great, let's do it. How can I say no to that? And I think I really remember being there and just being like, wow, this is the excitement and energy that was there. It was something that I don't know if you guys could plan to do that, but it was really an organic moment for us to walk up and just be like, wow, there's some excitement and some energy. And of course, the challenges you gave to us over the course of the next couple of years have literally changed my life.
Thanks, man. I don't take those words lightly, and I really appreciate that, because one thing as I've gotten to know you better that I've always loved is you're real, you're authentic, you are who you are, you're comfortable in your own skin, and those are the sort of people I love to surround myself with. And so I appreciate those words. Andrew, what was your side of that one?
I remember we were at that big long table, right? And everybody's there, and there was 10 offices. There was 10 offices. So and we were like kind of the 11th or newer people. And me and my wife flew in because it was like the one weekend we had something to do. So we showed up late. We left early. So we were there for like 24 hours. It was super fast. But I just remember this overwhelming feeling, and I kept saying it, and I still felt it to this day. Like, for the first time in our business, I didn't feel like we were alone. Yeah. Like our office was alone. Like, hey, we were out there forging this path, this life of everything that we're trying to create, and Tyler and I were doing it on our own. And we have support organizations, IMOs, FMOs, that are saying, oh, this is your next marketing thing. We're going to help you process some business, or they're just a cog in the wheel in general. And it's like, that was it. It was just this overwhelming feeling of like, hey, we're not alone. There's like-minded people here that want to grow together. And it's like, for the first time, there's competitors. Like, every single person is a competitor, technically, but just willing to pour every single thing, their best stuff. This is the number one thing I do in my business to beat the competition. I'm giving it to you.
It never felt like a competition thing from the beginning of that group of people. There was a natural give and take, people cheering and pulling for each other. And there was, we use the phrase "no ego," and check your ego at the door. And from the moment we were involved, there was an ego check at the door, which was great for us because we wanted to soak up and learn more. And even though we were running a successful business, we didn't know where to go at all from there. And when you have people in the room who are like, have the same story, started out selling Medicare supplements and graded death benefit policies out of the trunk of their car, just like I did with my dad 20 years ago. And now they're running $100 million a year books of business. It was like all of a sudden you could go, man, we've got hope. We can see some light at the end of the tunnel. There's a challenge for us to rise up to that's going to make us better people and is going to enable us to run a better business that has more significance for us, for our families, and for our community. and I can put those words to that now. In the moment, I couldn't put those words. In the moment, I just felt something magnetic.
Mm.
And now I can say, oh, I know what that was, because I've grown. I've grown into being able to say those words, which were not really part of my vocabulary. Building a business of significance was not part of my vocabulary 2.5 years ago.
We were playing a finite game. Like,
Sure.
hey, look, how can we just make more money so that we can do more stuff with our families or whatever it is? And then all of a sudden, something you just said there was super interesting, dude, was like, I wasn't able to put words to it then, but I am now. And man, that's so true, because like then I was like, man, I don't feel alone anymore. Like I don't feel alone. I finally somebody on this journey with us.
Yeah.
But now it's like it created this like fulfillment. And the number one thing, and I have it sitting here somewhere, there it is. It was at the very front page of Simon Sinek's book, The Infinite Game. And I won't bore everybody with reading the whole thing, but I highly recommend it. This little thing right here is going to be framed on my desk for the rest of my life. It literally changed my life. And that the last sentence is basically saying, and when our lives are over, those who joined us on the path to fulfillment will keep going without us and inspire others to join them too. And like now, like that's what that felt like. That's what that, I didn't know what it at the time, but that's what that weekend felt like to us, is like, wow, we're on this path of fulfillment and we're going to keep going. And when we're gone, now we're now part of something bigger than ourselves. I think everybody, like, that are very human nature, the number one thing that people want to do more than anything, I believe, is just like belong. You want to belong. And it doesn't, in order to belong, it doesn't mean you have to hit a certain number or right amount of business or be XYZ. It's just like you belong.
Andrew, I don't know, we get so trained by this industry to perform, get onto success, the Eden treadmill, right? And I was so blown away, and I still end to this day, that a group like Triad, there's no minimum number you have to meet to go hang out with your friends and people who you're learning from. I don't feel any pressure to produce, and that's completely that was completely the thing from the get-go. That was built in the DNA of Triad, and it's changing the DNA of how I do things in my office. We're changing from a production-based rewards to a process-based reward system here in our office, so that my people, the people who I'm so intimate with and work with every day, can feel the same thing I felt and I have gotten to feel as we've worked with Triad. And yeah, it's just really moving, because nobody treats you like that. People don't treat people like that. What are you going to do for me? And then I'm going to do something for you. It's an exchange. And instead of an exchange of production, here we have an exchange of ideas. We have an exchange of experience, which is so much more powerful when we think about an abundant life.
Well, selfishly, guys, it's what we wanted too. But I'll tell you, you mentioned Simon Sinek, Andrew, and for those listening in or watching in that aren't familiar, he just spoke at our launch experience beginning of 2024. And back to like the infinite game versus the finite game. Great book. Highly recommend it. But I'll tell you, the powerful kind of community and belonging that you're talking about. We had a gentleman there named Billy. I don't know if you guys met Billy and his wife out there launch. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But they were kind of in the same spot that you were at your first time. They were just kind of like checking out the community. And it's kind of this like, wait, is this too good to be true, sort of, And I went up to him the last day. And I said, hey, how's it going? Like, shoot me straight. And he goes, this is the first time, and he's been doing this a long time, obviously, and at a very successful level. He goes, this is the first time I've ever been in a room like this where everybody's here for the same reason. And now, leveling up in business, leveling up in life, that can be everybody's different definition of that. But the theme is the same. And that is one of the most proud moments I've had to date so far in this journey, because I'm like, that's what we wanted in the first place. And that's the infinite game. You know, it's like, you don't ever want to stop playing that game. If you're leveling up in business, you're leveling up in life, where the finite game is, to your all's point, the game that a lot of finance plays or has been trained to play, of like, here's the new number we chase each year, all production based. And so it means a lot for you to hear that from you guys. But it's really cool when you bring in an outsider that's like never experienced our community ever, and they say it, and it just shows the power of the community you all are a part of. So it's like, basically Sean and I are like, let's not mess this up, right? Let's stay true to what we're about, and like truly curate the community on, you know, doing business, doing life, checking the ego at the door, everything you guys have mentioned.